The phone slipped from Mark's hand, crashing onto the kitchen floor with a sharp crack that echoed through the silent house. His wife, Sarah, stood frozen across the island, her eyes wide with a mix of shock and dawning understanding as he finally uttered the words he'd buried for years. "I'm gay." In that instant, the life they'd built over a decade crumbled. But instead of rage or denial, Sarah's response was a quiet nod, leading them not to war, but to an unexpected alliance in reshaping their family. Mark Thompson had always been the picture of suburban perfection in their quiet neighborhood in suburban Chicago. At 35, he was a successful marketing executive, father to 2 kids, 8-year-old Lily and 5-year-old Ben, and husband to Sarah, his college sweetheart. But beneath the facade of barbecues and soccer practices, Mark had wrestled with a secret that gnawed at his soul. It started as fleeting thoughts in high school, dismissed as confusion, then buried deeper during college when he met Sarah. Their marriage was genuine in its affection, but over time, the disconnect grew, manifesting in quiet nights where Mark stared at the ceiling, questioning his authenticity. The confession came on a rainy Tuesday evening after dinner. The kids were upstairs doing homework, and Sarah had casually mentioned a coworker's divorce. Mark's heart pounded as he seized the moment. "Sarah, there's something I need to tell you," he began, his voice trembling. She set down her wine glass, sensing the gravity. When he finished, tears streamed down her face, but she reached across the table. "I think I've known for a while," she whispered. "It explains so much, the distance, the way you've been pulling away." They talked through the night, raw and honest. By dawn, they agreed. Divorce was inevitable, but they'd prioritize the kids. Co-parenting would be their new normal, with shared custody and mutual respect. Mark felt a weight lift, but guilt lingered. Had he robbed Sarah of years she could have spent with someone who loved her fully? The next weeks were a whirlwind of logistics. They consulted a mediator, avoiding the courtroom drama that could scar their children. Mark moved into a modest apartment downtown, closer to his office, while Sarah kept the house for stability. He saw the kids every other weekend and Wednesdays, turning his place into a fun zone with board games and movie nights. Lily, perceptive beyond her years, asked pointed questions. "Dad, does this mean you like boys now?" Mark explained gently, emphasizing that love came in many forms and that he and Mom still cared deeply for each other. Ben, younger, adapted with resilience, thrilled by the double Christmases ahead. But whispers spread. Neighbors gossiped at block parties, and Mark's colleagues offered awkward condolences. He joined a support group for late-blooming LGBTQ+ individuals, where he met Oliver, a 32-year-old teacher with a warm smile and shared stories of coming out in his 20s. Their conversations sparked something in Mark, a flicker of possibility. One evening after group, they grabbed coffee. Oliver's easy laugh and empathetic eyes made Mark feel seen for the first. As months passed, Mark's new life took shape. He threw himself into work, landing a promotion that demanded longer hours but provided financial security for alimony and child support. Sarah started dating a kind architect named Tom, and Mark genuinely wished her well. They even double-dated once, laughing over the absurdity. But lurking in the background was Mark's family, particularly his mother, Evelyn, a devout Catholic widow in her 60s living in a conservative enclave outside the city. She'd always been the matriarch, dictating holidays and milestones with an iron fist wrapped in piety. When Mark called to tell her about the divorce, omitting the reason at first, her response was laced with disapproval. "Marriage is a vow before God, Mark. You don't just walk away." He delayed the full truth, but Evelyn's suspicions grew. She visited unannounced, probing Sarah with questions that hinted at infidelity. Sarah, ever gracious, deflected, but the tension built. Mark knew he couldn't hide forever. One Sunday dinner at her house, with the kids playing in the yard, he sat Evelyn down. "Mom, I'm gay. That's why Sarah and I are divorcing." Her face paled, then hardened. "This is a phase, a temptation from the devil," she spat. Think of your children, they need a father, not this lifestyle. The argument escalated, Evelyn quoting Bible verses while Mark pleaded for understanding. She stormed out, leaving him shattered. That night, he cried alone in his apartment, wondering if authenticity was worth the fracture. Yet hope emerged with Oliver. Their coffee dates evolved into walks in Grant Park, where they shared dreams and fears. Oliver had lost friends after coming out but gained a chosen family. "It's not easy, but it's real," he said, his hand brushing Mark's. For the first time, Mark envisioned a future where he could love openly. But Evelyn's words echoed, seeding doubt. Was he selfish for appending his family's world? The internal conflict raged, pulling him between joy and remorse. Sarah noticed his turmoil during a co-parenting check-in. "Your mom's not taking it well?" she asked. Mark nodded, confessing his fears. "She thinks I'm damning the kids." Sarah squeezed his arm. "You're a great dad, Mark. They'll see that." Her support bolstered him, but Evelyn's silence stretched into weeks, a void that stung. Little did Mark know, her other plans were already in motion. Subtle manipulations that would soon explode their fragile peace. Mark's relationship with Oliver deepened gradually, like a river carving its path through stone. Their first real date was at a cozy Italian bistro in Wicker Park, where candlelight danced across Oliver's features as they talked about everything from favorite books to childhood traumas. Mark opened up about his marriage, the guilt of living a lie. "I loved Sarah, but it wasn't the love she deserved," he admitted. Oliver listened without judgment, sharing his own story of a failed engagement to a woman before accepting his truth. By dessert, their hands intertwined under the table, a simple act that sent electricity through Mark. Walking home, Oliver kissed him softly under a street lamp, and Mark felt alive, truly alive, for the first time. But integration into daily life brought challenges. Mark introduced Oliver to the kids cautiously, framing him as Dad's friend. Lily was curious, peppering Oliver with questions about his job teaching history. Ben warmed up quickly, bonding over soccer. Sarah met Oliver too, approving with a knowing smile. "He seems good for you," she said privately. Yet, societal undercurrents tugged at Mark. At work, a colleague's offhand joke about the gays made him bristle, reminding him of the prejudices still rampant in corporate America. He chose silence, fearing professional repercussions, but it chipped at his resolve. Evelyn's re-entry was abrupt. She called one evening, her voice saccharine. "I miss my grandbabies. Can I take them for the weekend?" Mark hesitated, sensing an ulterior motive, but agreed, hoping for reconciliation. The kids returned buzzing about Grandma's cookies and stories, but Lily mentioned something odd. "Grandma said you and Mom split because of bad choices, and we should pray for you." Mark's stomach twisted. He confronted Evelyn the next day. "What are you telling them?" She feigned innocence. "Just the truth, dear. Sin has consequences." The exchange left him fuming, but he bit his tongue for the kids' sake. Oliver became his anchor amid the storm. They spent evenings cooking together in Mark's apartment, discussing philosophy and politics. Oliver challenged Mark's internalized homophobia, born from a conservative upbringing. "You've internalized their shame," Oliver said one night, as they lay on the couch. "But love isn't a sin, denying it is." Mark nodded, but doubts lingered. What if Evelyn was right? What price would his children pay for his choices? The conflict intensified when Evelyn invited the family to her annual 4th of July barbecue. Mark brought Oliver, introducing him as his partner. The backyard fell silent as relatives stared. Evelyn's smile was tight, her eyes cold. Throughout the afternoon, snide remarks flew. An uncle's quip about traditional families, a cousin's Bible reference. Oliver handled it gracefully, but Mark seethed inside. Later, Evelyn pulled him aside. "This is embarrassing, Mark. Think of your father. He'd be ashamed." Mark's father had died young, a pillar of stoicism, and Evelyn wielded his memory like a weapon. "Dad would want me happy," Mark retorted. She scoffed. "Happiness? This is destruction." That night, back home, Mark paced, torn between defiance and filial duty. Oliver comforted him. "You can't change her, but you can protect us." The word warmed Mark, solidifying their bond. They decided to move in together, a step toward building their own family unit. Mark informed Sarah, who supported it, and they adjusted the custody schedule accordingly. But Evelyn's machinations escalated. Unbeknownst to Mark, she began documenting concerns about his lifestyle, consulting a lawyer friend about grandparents' rights. She visited Sarah under the guise of support, planting seeds of doubt. "Is this environment healthy for the children?" Sarah rebuffed her, but the intrusion sowed discord. Mark learned of it when Sarah called, upset. "Your mom's crossing lines, Mark. She implied you're unfit." Rage boiled in him, but he chose dialogue over confrontation, scheduling a family meeting. The meeting at a neutral coffee shop was tense. Evelyn arrived with a Bible in hand. "I'm worried for Lily and Ben's souls," she declared. Mark countered with facts. Studies showing kids of same-sex parents thrived. But Evelyn dismissed them as liberal propaganda. The discussion devolved into accusations, Evelyn calling Mark selfish, him labeling her bigoted. They parted without resolution. Evelyn's parting shot, "I'll do what I must to protect my grandchildren." Mark's inner turmoil peaked. Sleepless nights followed, questioning every decision. Had coming out been a mistake? The love he felt for Oliver was undeniable, but the collateral damage weighed heavy. Oliver urged therapy, and Mark started sessions, unpacking years of repression. The therapist helped him see Evelyn's actions as her fear, not his failing. Slowly, Mark reclaimed his narrative, but the battle lines were drawn. Little did he know, Evelyn's protection would soon manifest in a devastating betrayal, forcing choices that tested loyalties and morals. The summer heat in Chicago mirrored the rising tension in Mark's life. As he and Oliver settled into cohabitation, their apartment became a sanctuary of laughter and intimacy. Mornings with coffee and stolen kisses, evenings debating current events. Mark introduced Oliver to more friends, some of whom drifted away, revealing the subtle erosion of social circles. At a neighborhood gathering, a former pal avoided eye contact, muttering about family values. Mark brushed it off publicly but confided in Oliver later. "It hurts more than I expected." Oliver held him, reminding him that true allies remained. Work provided distraction, but even there, biases surfaced. During a team meeting, a client made a homophobic remark, and Mark spoke up for the first time. "That's not acceptable." The room tensed, but his boss backed him, earning Mark respect, and a quiet warning about office politics. The incident empowered him, fueling advocacy. He volunteered at a local LGBTQ+ center, mentoring youth, finding purpose in his pain. Family dynamics, however, festered. Evelyn's visits to Sarah increased, disguised as grandmotherly concern. She gifted the kids religious books with undertones of traditional marriage, which Lily questioned. "Grandma says boys should only love girls." "But you love Oliver, Dad." Mark explained diversity gently, but resentment built. He warned Evelyn, "Stop indoctrinating them." She feigned hurt. "I'm sharing my faith." The power struggle intensified, with Evelyn leveraging guilt. "After all I've done for you." Sarah, caught in the middle, grew frustrated. During a custody handoff, she vented, "Your mom's pushing boundaries." She asked about our divorce papers, hinting at revisions. Mark's alarm bells rang. He dug deeper, discovering Evelyn had consulted a family law attorney specializing in custody disputes. Paranoia set in. Was she plotting to challenge his parental rights? He confronted her over lunch. "What are you doing, Mom?" Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "Ensuring the children have stability. Your choices are unstable." The accusation stung, implying his sexuality equated to inadequacy. Mark stormed out, vowing to limit contact. The internal conflict ravaged him. Therapy sessions delved into his upbringing, Evelyn's strict Catholicism, his father's absence, the pressure to conform. "You're grieving the mother you wished for," the therapist said. Mark nodded, tears flowing. He loved Evelyn despite her flaws, but her rejection cut deep. Oliver supported him, but strains emerged in their relationship. One argument erupted when Mark canceled plans to appease Evelyn. "Why do you still seek her approval?" Oliver demanded. Mark snapped back, "She's family." The fight highlighted Mark's unresolved ties, leading to make-up talks that strengthened their bond but exposed vulnerabilities. Societal pressures compounded the drama. A local news story about a gay couple losing custody due to family interference hit close to home. Mark researched laws, learning Illinois favored joint custody but grandparents could petition if deeming parents unfit. Fear gripped him. What evidence was Evelyn gathering? He confided in Sarah, who suggested mediation. "For the kids' sake," she urged. The mediation session was a powder keg. Evelyn arrived with a pastor, framing her concerns morally. Exposure to sin harms their development. Mark presented expert testimonies on LGBTQ+ parenting. The mediator pushed compromise, supervised visits for Evelyn, no religious proselytizing. Evelyn agreed reluctantly, but her glare spoke volumes. Post-session, she whispered to Mark, "This isn't over." Betrayal struck swiftly. Days later, Mark received a court summons. Evelyn filed for grandparent visitation rights, alleging his lifestyle created an unstable environment. Attachments included affidavits from relatives claiming moral concerns, even twisted anecdotes from the kids' innocent comments. Mark's world spun. "How could she?" he raged to Oliver. Sarah was furious. "This is war." The filing forced Mark to hire a lawyer, draining savings meant for the kids' college. The emotional toll was immense. Lily sensed the rift, asking tearfully, "Why is Grandma mad at you?" Mark reassured her, but guilt consumed him. Had his coming out sparked this? Nights blurred into anxiety-fueled insomnia, questioning if authenticity justified the chaos. Oliver stood firm. "Fight for us, for you." But doubts crept. Was love worth the destruction? As the court date loomed, Mark uncovered more. Evelyn had rallied conservative community members, spreading rumors online. A viral post from her church group labeled him a wayward son, garnering hateful comments. The public shaming amplified his isolation, but also ignited resolve. He reached out to LGBTQ+ advocacy groups, gaining pro bono support. The battle lines hardened, setting the stage for confrontations that would force irreversible decisions. The courtroom in downtown Chicago felt like a pressure cooker, with fluorescent lights buzzing overhead and the air thick with anticipation. Mark sat rigidly beside his lawyer, scanning the room. Sarah in the gallery offering a supportive nod, Oliver squeezing his hand discreetly, and Evelyn across the aisle, flanked by her attorney and pastor, her face a mask of righteous determination. The judge, a stern woman in her 50s, called the case. Evelyn Thompson versus Mark Thompson, petition for grandparent visitation. As proceedings began, Mark's heart raced. This wasn't just about access. It was a referendum on his life. Evelyn's lawyer opened with emotional appeals. Mrs. Thompson fears for her grandchildren's moral upbringing in an environment that defies traditional values. Witnesses testified, relatives recounting concerns about Oliver's influence, the pastor quoting scriptures on family structure. Evelyn took the stand, tears glistening. "I love my son, but his choices endanger the children. I've raised him better." Mark seethed, seeing manipulation in her performance. His turn came. He spoke calmly. "I'm a devoted father. My sexuality doesn't diminish that." Experts countered with data. Children in same-sex households fared as well as others. Sarah testified in his favor. "Mark's an excellent co-parent. This petition is divisive." The judge ruled partially in Evelyn's favor, limited supervised visits, but admonished her, "This court prioritizes the children's best interests, not personal beliefs." Mark exhaled in relief, but victory felt hollow. Outside, Evelyn approached. "See what you've forced?" Mark walked away, but the damage was done. The case strained finances and emotions, with legal fees mounting and therapy bills piling up. Post-trial, relationships fractured further. Lily and Ben, shuttled between homes, exhibited stress. Lily's grades slipped, Ben had nightmares. Mark and Sarah coordinated counseling for them, but blame hovered. "Your mom's actions caused this," Sarah said bitterly. Mark agreed, imposing stricter boundaries. No unsupervised time with Evelyn. She retaliated with guilt-tripping calls. "You're cutting me out like I mean nothing." Oliver bore the brunt privately. Whispers at his school about the scandal affected his job security. One parent complained, citing moral fitness. Oliver defended himself, but the ordeal tested their relationship. "Is this worth it?" he asked one night, exhausted. Mark pulled him close. "You are." But seeds of doubt grew. Had Mark dragged Oliver into his family's toxicity? Deeper betrayal emerged when Mark discovered Evelyn had contacted Child Protective Services anonymously, alleging neglect due to his unstable lifestyle. An investigation ensued, home visits, interviews. Though cleared, the humiliation burned. "How far will she go?" Mark demanded in a heated phone call. Evelyn's response chilled him. "As far as needed to save them." The moral quandary deepened. Was her love twisted, or was he blind to potential harm? Society's mirror reflected harshly. Media coverage of similar cases fueled online trolls targeting Mark. He deactivated social media, but isolation set in. Friends distanced themselves, fearing association. Yet, support came from unexpected quarters. A colleague came out to him, inspired by his courage. The LGBTQ+ Center rallied, organizing fundraisers. The climax of betrayal hit when Evelyn attempted to sway Sarah. Over coffee, she proposed, "Join me in seeking primary custody for you. Keep the kids safe from that." Sarah recorded it, outraged, and shared with Mark. "She's trying to pit us against each other." The revelation shattered Mark's lingering affection for his mother. He filed for a restraining order, limiting contact to court-approved channels. The decision weighed heavily. Therapy explored the ethics. Was cutting ties justified or vengeful? Mark grappled with forgiveness versus self-preservation. Oliver advocated boundaries. Protect our family. But family now meant chosen bonds over blood. As tensions peaked, Mark confronted Evelyn one last time at her home. "Why, Mom? I just wanted to be honest." She broke down. "I can't lose you to this world." Her vulnerability humanized her, but Mark stood firm. "You've already lost me by fighting who I am." The encounter marked a turning point, but the costs mounted. Emotional scars, financial strain, fractured innocence for the kids. Mark questioned every step. Had authenticity demanded too high a price? The drama forced awakenings, but resolutions remained elusive, paving the way for healing or further rupture. Healing began in fragments, like piecing together a shattered vase. After the restraining order, Evelyn's presence faded to sporadic, supervised visits where conversations stayed superficial. The kids adjusted, their counselor noting resilience. They're processing, but love from both parents helps. Mark and Sarah doubled down on unity, attending school events together, presenting a front of amicable co-parenting. Yet, scars lingered, Lily's occasional questions about why grandma's mad, Ben's clinginess during transitions. Mark's relationship with Oliver evolved through the fire. The trials tested their commitment, leading to honest dialogues about future dreams. Marriage, perhaps adoption. "We've survived this. We can handle anything," Oliver said during a weekend getaway to Lake Michigan. Walking hand in hand along the shore, Mark proposed informally, "Let's make this official someday." Oliver's yes sealed their path, but societal hurdles loomed. Same-sex marriage was legal, but acceptance varied. Work became a battleground for advocacy. Emboldened, Mark spearheaded diversity training at his firm, sharing his story anonymously at first, then openly. Colleagues applauded, but backlash from a few led to HR complaints. He persevered, earning a leadership role in inclusion initiatives. The personal growth contrasted his family's stagnation. Evelyn's isolation grew, her church friends enabling her views but offering little comfort. Moral dilemmas haunted Mark. In therapy, he dissected the right choices. Was denying Evelyn access punitive or protective? Boundaries aren't betrayal, the therapist affirmed. But guilt persisted, amplified by cultural expectations of filial piety. Oliver challenged. She betrayed you first. The debate mirrored broader societal tensions, individual rights versus collective norms. A pivotal moment came when Evelyn suffered a minor heart scare. Hospitalized, she called Mark tearfully, "I need to see my grandkids." He visited alone first, finding her frail. "Mom, this has to change." She confessed fears rooted in her era's teachings. "I thought I was saving you." Vulnerability cracked her armor, leading to tentative talks. Mark suggested joint counseling. She agreed hesitantly. The sessions were grueling. Evelyn confronted her biases, hearing Mark's pain. "Your rejection felt like abandonment." Tears flowed as she admitted, "I was wrong to weaponize faith." Progress was slow, but glimmers emerged. She met Oliver neutrally, even asking about his work. Yet, relapses occurred. A slipped comment about natural order. Mark enforced boundaries, walking out when needed. The kids' well-being remained paramount. Lily thrived in art therapy, expressing emotions through drawings of two dads and mom. Ben's energy returned, scoring goals in soccer with Mark and Oliver cheering. Sarah's relationship with Tom blossomed, leading to engagement. Mark attended the announcement dinner, toasting genuinely to new beginnings, but awakenings came at costs. Financial recovery was gradual, with Mark moonlighting freelance. Emotionally, trust rebuilt piecemeal, forgiving Evelyn without forgetting. Society's gaze softened locally, but national debates on LGBTQ+ rights reminded him of ongoing fights. A Supreme Court case on parental rights echoed his ordeal, prompting him to testify remotely for advocacy groups. Internal conflicts resolved unevenly. Mark pondered the what-ifs. Staying closeted might have preserved peace, but at what soul-crushing price? Oliver's love affirmed his path, but the journey's toll, damaged relationships, public scrutiny, questioned the calculus. One evening, watching the kids play with Oliver, Mark felt gratitude amid regret. As reconciliation tentatively bloomed, Evelyn gifted a neutral book on family diversity. "I'm trying," she said. Mark hugged her, a fragile bridge rebuilt. But the story's essence lay in the choices. Betrayals forgiven, damages paid, awakenings earned. The narrative shifted from conflict to cautious hope, leaving room for debate on the ethics of it all. With bridges mending, Mark's life stabilized into a new rhythm. Weekends blended families. Barbecues with Sarah, Tom, Oliver, and the kids, Evelyn joining occasionally under watchful eyes. Her transformation was incremental, attending a PFLAG meeting, reading recommended books. "I see now how fear blinded me," she admitted during a family dinner. Mark nodded, forgiveness budding but cautious. The kids flourished, Lily excelling in school debates on equality, Ben embracing inclusivity in his playgroups. Oliver and Mark's bond deepened, culminating in a small commitment ceremony in a lakeside park. Friends and chosen family attended, Sarah as a witness. Evelyn surprised them by showing up, offering a tentative toast to love in all forms. The moment symbolized redemption, but Mark knew scars remained. Trust earned through actions, not words. Professionally, Mark's advocacy paid dividends. His firm adopted progressive policies, and he spoke at conferences, inspiring others. Societal shifts mirrored his journey, polls showing growing acceptance, though pockets of resistance persisted. He volunteered more, mentoring closeted professionals, paying forward the support he'd received. Yet, reflections on the ordeal prompted profound questions. The betrayals, Evelyn's legal maneuvers, societal judgments, forced reckonings. Was authenticity a luxury or a right? The damages, emotional wounds, financial burdens highlighted the costs of defiance. In quiet moments, Mark weighed the trade-offs. Happiness gained versus harmony lost. Sarah's wedding to Tom was a milestone of closure. Mark walked her down the aisle platonically, the kids as flower bearers. Evelyn attended gracefully, whispering to Mark, "We've come far." Post-ceremony, families mingled, a tapestry of blended lives. As years hinted at passing, kids growing, relationships evolving, Mark looked back with mixed emotions. The drama had forged resilience, but at what price? Awakenings came through pain. Evelyn's from ignorance to empathy, Mark's from repression to freedom. The story closed not in triumph, but in nuanced reality, where choices echoed eternally. Was a mother's interference in her son's life, driven by deeply held beliefs, ever justifiable when it risks destroying the family she claims to protect?